Scotland conjures up visions of seductive countrysides, charming villages, and dark forests rich in history and romantic legend that even today's technology has failed to tame. Although bordering England, its neighbor to the south, Scotland has survived as people with their own laws, culture, and ideals. But Scotland is also a land known for its mysterious and foreboding haunted castles, which are havens for ghosts and phantoms, some very evil, in the form of witches and sorcerers that seem to haunt these foreboding ancient fortresses. In medieval times, these massive structures were homes to the rulers of the land, and no two castles were alike. But the murder and violence associated with some of these legendary locations have left unforgettable imprints in certain areas, especially during the bloody battles in the moors between Scotland and England, where fighting and violence was rampant. Of the more legendary figureheads who played a major role in much of this violence was that of Robert the Bruce, crowned 31st King of Scotland in 1306. Once thought of as a traitor, Bruce ultimately gave independence to Scotland and was established as a legend in Scottish history, as a final macabre act of loyalty was performed in his honor. On June 7, 1329, Robert the Bruce of Scotland died of leprosy, but on his deathbed gave instructions that his heart be cut out and taken on a crusade as a final gesture to redeem himself for his betrayal of Sir William Wallace and his indecisive loyalty to Scotland. His heart was carried into battle by Sir James Douglas the Good, a member of the infamous Black Douglas clan, who just before he was killed hurled it at the enemy as a last final act. The heart was recovered and taken back to Melrose Abbey, where King David II had asked for it to be embalmed and buried. While Sir Wallace's loyalty to Scotland never wavered, it is these last final acts that have inspired many to label Robert the Bruce as the real Braveheart. In 1996, archaeological excavations at Melrose Abbey were undertaken by Historic Scotland to examine the lead container which was originally discovered in 1921. This container is said to hold the medieval casket which contains the embalmed heart of King Robert the Bruce. In a scientific effort under controlled laboratory conditions, small holes were drilled into the container in order to introduce probes, as a fibroscopic examination was performed to determine what lies within. The smaller cone-like casket is approximately 10 inches high by 4 inches in diameter. It is firmly believed that what you are seeing here is the actual embalmed heart of Robert the Bruce. Strategically situated in the middle of the River Dee in the south of Scotland, on a small desolate island surrounded by water, boggy marsh, and woodlands, stands the remains of an ominous 14th century fortress, Threave Castle, once the stronghold of the powerful Archibald Douglas, son of Sir James, known to all as Archibald the Grim. Herein lies a story immersed in legend. Bob Schott, internationally referred to as a supernatural headhunter and producer and director of Adventures Beyond, pulls together an international team of researchers, including John and Ann Spencer, authors and paranormal investigators, to ultimately take on Hermitage Castle in the south of Scotland, one of the most foreboding castles in all of Europe. To get a feel for what lies ahead at Hermitage, Bob and his team can't pass up the opportunity to check out Threave Castle, the mysterious stronghold of Robert the Bruce's allies, the infamous Black Douglases. Bob offers the theory that some of these uninhabited fortresses, once a center for torture, death, and black witchcraft activities by their owners, seems to act as an incubator or breeding ground for supernatural energy, where footprints of the past still roam the moors in the wee hours past midnight.
Martin, Threave Castle, the Black Douglases, and Robert the Bruce. Virtually an unknown castle to most.
It's a particularly fine castle. It was also built by Archibald the Grim, who was 3rd Earl of Douglas, who was the illegitimate son of the good Sir James Douglas. The good Sir James took the heart of Robert the Bruce to Granada on a crusade. Bruce had murdered the Red John Comyn in a church in Dumfries and had felt that he should go on a crusade to redeem his soul, but he'd never been able to do so while he was alive. And the good Sir James had taken his heart to Granada, where he was actually killed, and the heart was brought back and buried in Melrose Abbey, while the body of Robert the Bruce was buried in Dunfermline Abbey.
We talked to Valerie Bennett, who was the custodian over there, and she was telling us about some strange voices that she's heard at that castle when she's gone over there numerous times. And that castle is located in such that you have to have a boat to get on the island, and there was no one there at the time.
Right. It was built in a very strong position by Archibald the Grim, 3rd Earl of Douglas. He was called Archibald the Grim because his face was so terrible to look upon in battle.
One night as I was closing up, my colleague had gone to put the boat away, put the engine away, and I went over to lock up the castle. I thought there was nobody else on the island but the two of us, but as I went into the castle, I could hear some voices, so I just thought there were some visitors there. So I went to look for them to tell them that it was time to leave, and I couldn't find anyone. And I thought, oh, that's strange, maybe on the grounds. Looked around and I couldn't find anybody. And at that point I actually got a bit scared and came out the castle and, you know, said to my colleague, can you check that there's nobody been staying in there overnight? And they went in and there was nobody there. And, you know, we tried to rationalise it, saying, oh, well, it'd be somebody across the river bank, but there was nobody around. And it happened on more than one occasion. I never could work out what people were saying, but it seemed to me like two men talking. Yeah. And I've never really believed in ghosts, you know, it's one of these things that, you know, other people do, but I couldn't find an explanation for it. So, you know, maybe they were plotting to kill someone there.
If there's any activity in that castle at all regarding paranormal activity, ghosts or anything like that, in what area would it most likely be, would you think?
In my opinion, it would most likely to be in the pit prison that a lot of these medieval castles had. That was a prison which was only entered by a small trapdoor,
right,
and which then opened up into a pit underneath. Prisoners were normally just thrown into this, and they were then normally either left or they were taken out for execution or freed.
While the boat ride over to Thrieve was very picturesque, it was easy to see how this uninhabited island fortress could make an excellent home for any energy forms. For as you get nearer, the scars from hundreds of years of battles which have taken place have become very evident. While investigating various parts of the interior and the infamous pit areas, one of the members was suddenly disturbed by something in the chimney area of the castle.
Okay, what did you first feel?
That's just when I looked up. It just something funny hit me. I don't know what it was. So I walked away. Oh, freezing. I don't know, it was just more of a tingling feeling came right over my body.
Let me take your temperature in there. Oh, you don't want to go in there yet?
I'll go in. Horrible.
Reading 54 and 58.
I can't look right up. You don't like it, no.
Let me get behind you, Anne, with the gun. Hold it steady, just like you're doing.
I can't look right up there. It's horrible.
49, 48, 0, 2, 0.
You've got something.
23.
What is it?
1 and 2, 4, 3, 10.
Okay, now you got
I'm
something.
hitting something.
Okay, now hold on with that. Read them out real loud. Start on John, go to the
49.
wall, and then go up. What do you
Okay,
got?
reading 64. The wall's 51, 50. Going up 48, 49, 9, 40, 47, 47, 48, 47, 48. It's staying around here.
Now, when did you get the sudden changes? Just a minute ago?
They're just not happening.
But they were, right?
They
They were at the same
They
time,
were.
more or less.
At the same place? Are you in the
No, they're
exact
not
same
happening
place?
now.
They're not happening now, no.
Come back and would you?
46, 47,
No.
20, 23, 12, 18, 4, 2.
Now where I really most felt it is over there.
Where?
On the far side of the wall up there. It's actually, as you're looking that way, it's like maybe just over 3/4 of the way to the top. Started feeling something then. That's when I had to look down again.
What was it that Alistair felt, or thought he saw? Was it his imagination running wild? In such a mysterious place like Thrieve, this surely would be easy to do. Or was it something unnatural that he felt? Could the Omega thermal gun with its microsecond response rates and recordings of sudden drops in temperature mean the presence of something else here? Was he too close to something inside of the castle walls? Or is it possible that the beat of Robert the Bruce's heart can still be felt at Thrieve Castle? Well, if so, this would be only a tune-up to what lies ahead as Adventures Beyond heads to their ultimate goal. The most evil castle in all of Europe, once owned by an evil lord who Robert the Bruce once said of, "I don't care if they boil him in oil and cover him in hot lead."
All right, Martin. You know what we're looking for. In the months that we've been talking, I'm looking for the most evil castle in Europe. which brings us to the one you were talking about.
Hermitage Castle is definitely one of the most oppressive castles in Scotland. It's got a very bad atmosphere. It was built in the 12th and 13th century mostly, and it's on the border with Scotland and England, so it was fought over a lot by the Scots and the English.
Right.
In the 13th century, it was held by the de Soulis family. One of the family was called Bad Lord Soulis, and he was believed to be a sorcerer and warlock, and that his presence has often been felt there, and people have been feeling extremely uncomfortable spending any time in that castle by themselves. I think you only need to see it to realise that this is, quite a bad place. There's other stories associated with the castle too. There was Sir Alexander Ramsay of Dalhousie was starved to death in the castle by one of the Douglas family, and he was put in one of the pit prisons, and all that kept him going for some weeks was some grain coming from one of the storerooms above. And his ghost is also said to haunt the castle, as is the ghost of Mary Queen of Scots, when the castle was owned by the Hepburns, Earls of Bothwell, one of whom eventually married Mary. She visited him there from Jedburgh, and her ghost is said also to have been seen there.
Well, we've heard stories of strange sounds, a phantom that walks the grounds, and we're not talking about the Grey Lady or the Green Lady like some of the castles in England and elsewhere where it's friendly. We're talking about the Soulis, who practiced black witchcraft,
Yes.
sacrificed humans, sacrificed animals, and we've heard that people who have gone in there during the daytime come out of it with a feeling of that something overcame them, almost as
Yes.
if they walked into the devil's den, so to speak.
Yes. Well, ghost stories in Scottish castles seem to split down into several themes. One of the ones which you've said is the apparitions, particularly of women. But there also seems to be in many castles where somebody particularly evil who practiced sorcery and witchcraft has lived also seems to leave a presence and frighten people in many of these different places.
Well, if we want to take on a castle that's I guess you would call it the baddest or the worst
Yes.
in Europe, would you say that this would be the one to do it?
I would say to Hermitage, I would say Hermitage is definitely the castle you should visit and explore. But I wouldn't want to come with you and spend a night there. It's just it's got a particularly bad feeling. It's an oppressive castle. When you go there, you just feel that there's something not right about it.
Laying there waiting to be woken
Yes.
up?
Without a doubt, Hermitage Castle is one of the most haunted places in Europe. In my book, it certainly is the most haunted castle in the United Kingdom, and that's saying a lot because there are some very spooky places in that country. I do believe there's something at Hermitage awaiting to awaken.
What we want to do is go in there and shake it up and see if there's anything to all of this.
Well, I think you really have your work cut out at Hermitage.
Well, we're the only ones that have permission to spend the night in there. What I want to do is take our equipment in there, and if there's anything in there, I want to see if if we can shake it up.
Well, rather you than me.
While some of the ghosts in this investigation are legends and seem to be trapped in time or trying to enter into our world, it may not be wise to let the evil master of this next one out.
I have heard that the Soulis' prisoners in Hermitage Castle, they just dropped grains of wheat or something to them and they slowly starved to death. And dogs are very reluctant to go near this dungeon now, so it seems there may be some sort of presence there.
It's been raining, there's a bit low mist. We're coming on this road here, heading towards Newcastle, which is a village 10 miles away. We've got to this point in the road here, and the car cut out, there's 5 of us in the car, Previous to that we'd been joking about ghosts and things at Hermitage and how spooky it was. And when the car stopped, I just glanced up at the castle and I saw the outline like a figure on top of the castle. While we were all looking at this, brother was just going away to try and start the car again, and it started itself. It just looked black, but there's a light sky behind it, so it stuck out pretty well, just like the figure of a person. There's definitely someone there.
It was in the spring of the year coming here, the jackdaws had been building nests and they're dropping twigs on the ground. I was picking twigs up when I looked away to my right, and I seen a large shadow of a man standing there, approximately 6 feet or more. After 2 seconds, the man came towards us, and when he got an arm's length from us, I stepped away at the side, and the man walked away and went through that wall. I never seen any footprints, or matter of fact, I've been in there on several occasions looking to see this, to try and see the same thing. You can hope I could see the same and try and explain it, but never seen it. You sometimes get the feeling this thing can, whatever it can, what it is, you get the feeling that there's something there.
I've heard many stories of strange happenings. Other custodians have had some really strange experiences. One of them, who was a very honest person, was said to have been pursued through the field when he was on his moped. Another one very sadly died here. Others
Of what cause?
Nobody knows. Another became gravely ill and died. De Soulis had a son. It hasn't been verified, but it was said that his son was such an evil man and terrorized the population. But the idea was that he suffered a very horrible and lingering death, and it's his ghost and his necromancy, his witchcraft, which is supposed to pervade the place with this air of loathsome, sinister foreboding, and when people arrive, that is what very often gives them that sense of menace. Now this area here, at this level, is a cellar where storage was the main purpose. Now this wall, you can see the thickness of the wall here, and this has been broken through in order to bring a cannon through in the 16th century. This could well have been done during the time when Earl Bothwell was in charge here. You need to duck your head because they didn't make allowances for tall 20th century people.
5 foot thick.
Yes, there was no intention that you should have access through the bottom of the wall. All the access would have been at this level here, but in order to bring the cannon through, it was impossible for them to hoist it up and bring it in this way, so they had actually to knock a hole literally through the wall. They tell me that this particular area has something buried. I don't know what it is that's buried, and they won't tell me.
This stair leads to the murder hole that I was talking about outside. It's got 2 portcullises, and this is the stair that the dog would not go up. You've got
Where's he stop?
portcullis on the outside.
Where does he stop before he goes up?
Well, he just stops at the bottom.
Right here?
If I call him up, he comes up to the top and he'll stand and wait for me. That was the storage area, and above it was the captain's room, and the captain would be in that room because he was in close proximity to the door, which was adapted after the Douglases had made this murder hole in this doorway here. It was later adapted because they were so fearful of treachery and so fearful of having a portcullis at the back as well as the front. They still felt that they would be actually betrayed.
Jenny, what is the face on that wall up there supposed to be?
Well, you may well ask what that is. We don't know what it is. It doesn't feature in any of the guidebooks. I can't find any information about it. It seems to have been just put there by somebody. And who knows what it represents? It could represent the ghost of Hermitage Castle. I know one thing, and that is our motto in Historic Scotland is just use your imagination. I would not like to just use my imagination on that particular face.
Jenny, could that be the likeness of Lord de Soulis?
It certainly could be. It has an evil enough aspect to it. Sometimes it appears to be smiling, sometimes it appears to be frowning, but whenever you look at it, it always looks supremely evil.
Jenny, is this the stairway to the dungeon?
Yes, that's right. This is the turnpike stair, as we might call it here in Scotland, which leads up to the prison, and then below the prison lies the dungeon. And the dungeon is the area where we would expect ghosts to be found. The first of the ghosts would be Sir Alexander Ramsay. He was thrown in the dungeon with his horse on top of him, it is said, and his body, when it was taken out, he was supposed to have eaten part of his forearm in his desperate attempt to stay alive, and had eaten grains which fell from the granary above. It took him 17 days to die. The second ghost that should be found in the dungeon would be associated with a very early phase of the building of the castle. Lord de Soulis was then Lord of Liddesdale, and he was said to be a necromancer or a witch or a warlock, to be accurate. And the way that he conjured the devil was to sacrifice animals. He sacrificed a black cat, a black dog, a black bull in turn, and the blackness, of course, was significant because this is the colour of the devil. And once he had made these sacrifices, the devil would appear. He had then a pact with the devil so that he would grow rich and the devil would gather plenty of souls. So the outcome of that, his death, was particularly horrible. He was abducted by the local people, wrapped in a cloak of lead to prevent him from escaping, dipped in a cauldron, and was boiled slowly on a fire to make his death as long and lingering as possible.
So this is the area to the dungeon right here, the entrance?
Yes, this is the place that you're going to be able to spend the night listening out for and looking in, and I can tell you that I wouldn't be wanting to accompany you here. You are the only people who have ever collected the key from me. Many people have made appointments and arrangements have been made in the past, but for some reason those people have cried off.
Now, yeah, we've been turned down by so many people. When I sought out some assistance and other fellow investigators to join us, when they found out where we were coming and they heard about this place, they just absolutely refused. No one wanted to investigate this place overnight, so it's very interesting that no one else has tried this.
Well, sometimes I'm not at all surprised to hear you say that. There have been other people who've said that they wanted to come, but when the appointment has been made, they haven't arrived, and there hasn't been any reason given. They just don't turn up. And I do assume that they have heard from somebody, perhaps locally, the evil reputation that this place has, and they just can't quite face the idea of spending the night here, because it is said to mark people. You are supposed afterwards never to be quite the same again.
So this is the pit.
It's never been excavated, but we assume that there will be bones under there. This site has not been excavated, and this area in particular has never been dug. The sacrificial victims, no doubt, their bones are still down there somewhere.
With generations of soil on top of it.
Yes, yes. It also fills up with water when it rains, which makes it particularly unpleasant. If you think of a prisoner down there, he would be just as likely to drown as to starve.
There's no way in or out of here except over the top and
Definitely
down.
not. No, through they would be thrown through the trapdoor, which would be covering this area here. And so the man who is a prisoner in the prison above would be hearing the cries of the man who had been thrown into the dungeon and forgotten below.
Later the keys were turned over to Bob, and in the nature of the old classic Vincent Price horror film, House on Haunted Hill, the members of the team prepared themselves for a night of apprehensive mystery. What is it about this fortress that intimidates and frightens outsiders away? To support the load of iniquity which has long accumulated within its walls.
This is reported by many authors on the paranormal as being one of the most evil and haunted castles possibly in the world. So what we're going to do is
Most grotesque murders have taken place here, so there's a chance of any kind of emotions are here. Something.
Now here's the stairway to the pit where Lord Solus used to torture and kill his prisoners. What he would do is when he captured him, he'd throw him into this pit. Some of them stayed alive by the grain cellar that was above it. They'd eat bits of grain coming down. And we'll go up there in a little while. I think, John, you've got your night scopes, we've got motion detectors, and we'll put the ultrasound up there. Just let that run for a while. I think what we should do is go set up some equipment and check out the pit, and we'll check out the lower level over here first. In this part of the continent, it's been written by every major author there is on this subject matter as one
Listen
of the most
carefully as
haunting.
you'll hear occasional audio disturbances. Could they simply be a short in the wiring, or is something playing with the team?
Well, right now it's about 11:45, and we have the keys to this place. We're the only ones that have spent the night in here. I don't know what we're going to find, but we'll sure make an effort. We've got a lot of ground to cover. This is about a 3.5-story castle. So most of the areas that were reported as having unusual phenomenon associated with it were the pit and were this lower level area here that's underneath the little tunnel that we come in. So why don't we do that now? We'll just let the ultrasonic run for a while. Now, what the ultrasonic is supposed to do is basically, it's kind of like taking a stick and hitting a hornet's nest late at night. If there's anything in there, it should shake it up. And what we're looking for are energy forms that have permeated themselves in the walls here, not so much energy loops. So if there's any of that, this could help.
In other words, what you're looking for is that this could be the trigger to replay the stone tape theory.
It could be that, or it could be if there's anything to this business of poltergeist activity that has associated itself with a location and not individuals, because no one lives here. This is an uninhabited castle. I mean, it hasn't been lived in for hundreds of years. So we're not talking about a family that's living here that's had some trauma exactly associated with them. We're not talking about PK, we're talking about energy forms that have been associated with this place. Now, there have been strange noises heard in this castle. There have been phantom apparitions that have been seen around here, that the local people don't want to come near this place as soon as the sun goes down. Well, if there's ever a place that there would be anything, this is certainly it. So you have to be careful that your mind doesn't play tricks on you. But we'll do what we can, and we'll see what happens. John, we'll go ahead and put the ultrasonic transmitter, set it on 20 to 30,000 hertz up at the pit area to send out those frequencies. Ann's also going to put the frankincense incense up there, and that's been reported as being somewhat of an exciter in cases like these and is associated with the occult. And she's also going to put the Ouija board, right, Ann?
I've also got the Ouija board. I'm going to put that in the kitchen area. We'll leave it for a while just by itself. I'll leave it on the letter G, and we'll see if there's any spontaneous movement before we get down to using it ourselves.
And we ought to say that there's 6 of us in here. There's nobody else in here. I've got the gate locked outside. I have the key on me. The door to the castle is locked. And there's no other way in this place. There's only one way in this castle, and that's through that door, and that door is locked, and it's bolted. It's very strong.
So if we all stay together in twos, we'll know no one's been down to the Ouija
And we've
board.
got the motion sensors that can control certain areas out there to say no one can get near that.
Yeah, we've got 4 different motion detectors, infrared motion detectors.
That'll stop anyone getting near that.
Yeah, exactly. We'll put one by that too. So why don't we go ahead and do that. This is the top of the pit area. And John, we're going to set that ultrasonic transmitter down right here in the corner. And it's said that there still remains of some of the prisoners from the 13th, 14th, and 15th century still in this pit. As you can see, there's no way in or no way out of there except from this vantage point right here. They were thrown in and they died down there.
Facing the transmitter into the pit. If there is anything that can be triggered from there, this will trigger it. We're setting it at 20 to 30 kilohertz. That's recommended for what they say is shaking up the building to see if there's anything in there that's going to activate.
That sensor is working.
In an attempt to see if any unsolicited contact can be made, Anne places the Ouija board and motion detector in an isolated spot near the murder hole so the team can investigate the other areas of the castle. Should anything get near the Ouija board or enter the area near the Ouija board, the motion detector would alert the team.
Okay, what we've done is a little experiment here. We've placed a motion detector right near the Ouija board, so it's facing the Ouija board. If that planchette should move by any chance, we would hopefully that motion detector would be set off. Sudden heat, sudden cold, something in the infrared range. It's an experiment, but as you can see, there's nothing down in this pit. There's no way in or out of it except up these steps. So we're going to leave it there. And we're going to go on about our business. We're going to go over the pit area. So if we hear that detector go off, something other than one of us set it off, and there's nobody else in here. This place is locked up, and there's no animals or anything else. So let's go on over to the pit and get that started. You know, maybe we'll get lucky. Who knows? Now, there were about 3 areas that I think the custodian told us where most of the activity was reported. One was the pit, where we have the incense and the ultrasonic transmitter. And the other one was the stairway, wasn't it, John, where the
There's
dog
a
was?
double portcullis up there where people would be trapped if they were unwanted and they could be killed in that, and they call it the murder room. That's a spot too.
All right, now where the Ouija board is, that might be a spot too. But we've got a motion detector up there. So why don't you split us up where you want us?
Okay, well, like you're saying, that's a good idea. So if 2 people are up this end, then you'll be covering the murder area, looking down on the Ouija board, but not affecting the movement sensor or anything. There's some great sounds at the moment.
That's
bats.
bats.
Using their own ultrasound.
You know what's causing it?
Actually, we may be triggering.
Well, the ultrasonic, that's interesting. The ultrasonic transmitter is reaching them.
Yeah.
Because they have the most advanced sonar and radar sensors of any biological entity. And did you hear that click? Yes. Yeah, I just heard 2 hours. There. There's nothing up. There's nobody up there. The ultrasonic is constant. You won't hear that.
All right, I just plugged this in. It's a normal cable. I stuck it in here, and basically I got a warning light on the camera, and this was heated up quickly, and now I would just suspect. I mean, I need to turn off everything, but I would suspect that the camera is fried. Internally, and I can kind of feel the heat under here too. This is a 4-pin cable that powers the camera, and feel the cable, feel how hot it is.
Put the Omega on it.
And
who's got the Amiga?
Cable. I've got 97, then 90.
What is it?
85, 99,
Yeah.
81.
Yeah. Well, see, the thing is the only bizarre thing is that, you know, it wasn't attached. Yeah, it wasn't attached to the battery either.
The cable was not attached to the battery?
The cable was not attached to the battery, because he had it right there.
I've got the battery around my waist.
And what was you telling me about what happened? John, didn't you see a flashlight out there too?
malfunctions are very common when the poltergeist activity heats up. Could something be toying with the team? As the morning draws near, and taking full advantage of the apparent presence of something among them, Adventures Beyond decides to try a seance.
Well, it hasn't moved since you put it there, has it, Ann?
No, we're still on G, so nothing's happening this way.
All right, why don't we try it the old-fashioned way then? What we're going to do is an old-fashioned seance here with John and Ann and Al. So why don't we set this up and we'll have 3 cameras going. Ken, why don't you move that into here to back to where it was, and I'll set the night vision going there, and you can run your Canon from there. We'll just put it right here where we had it. Are there any intelligent energies in this castle?
Okay, I've got a 30 degrees high on the wall.
There shouldn't be. That should be
and I've got
45
a
degrees.
47 degrees low. So
that
we
shouldn't
have
happen. You should have 42 at the max, at the lowest.
I got it jumped to 36 to 45.
You shouldn't.
Okay.
It should jump 3 or 4 degrees. It shouldn't jump 9.
Okay, I'm going to go up a level here. We're at solid 45.
They would like to communicate. Can anyone help us?
11.
We're at?
Right here.
That shouldn't happen, Ken. I haven't got anything more than a 4-degree difference all night long.
4 degrees. 4 degrees.
Keep it going, Ken.
2 degrees.
I'm getting very cold.
8 degrees, 5 degrees, 4 degrees, 4 degrees.
Keep it going, Ken.
2 degrees.
There's something around here then.
What unexplainable force that affected the infrared sensors on Omega's thermal gun was responsible for the sudden drastic temperature changes which moved about the area and suddenly stopped? And what was it that shut down the camera? Was it a malfunction? Could a short in the cable have caused it without being connected to a power source? Or was there something else at work here? And what were the strange sounds that Ann and Bob heard? Could it be that Bob and his team disturbed hundreds of years of the uninhabited fortress of Hermitage and awakened the impending evil energy that lies dormant within the castle walls? Was something present in the murder hole area during the seance that was toying with the team? The next night may tell the tale, for little do they know that what they may have awakened may have been more than a bat, as you will soon witness, for the next night something was captured on a special 4-lens stereo camera and night vision that may have been responsible for much of the strange activity and the mysterious ball of light that John Spencer saw below the pit near the stroke of midnight.
We've just spent the night in Hermitage Castle. We had several things happen that we can't explain. One of them in particular had to do with the camera, other than the noises that Ann and I heard and the strange flash of light that John saw. This all happened within 15 to 20 minutes of the camera going out. Now, you Al, were right there with Ken when that happened.
Basically, we were linking up the battery cells in the belt to the camera to try and give us extra length of time. But we hadn't actually got the connection made between the two. So the 3-pin was in the back of the camera, not attached to anything, and it just suddenly overheated. It started getting very, very hot. Warning light appeared in the camera for no apparent reason.
You ever had that happen before?
No, haven't had it happen before. I did a halfway diagnostic on trying to reduplicating the problem again, and I couldn't do it.
What did it do to the pin?
The 4-pin doesn't work in the input of the camera anymore, and it's just that I find that really strange because, as Alistair said, I hadn't even connected into the camera yet, and it blew.
What time frame did that happen after John saw the light?
Yeah, that happened within seconds.
Al gave me the cable. I held it. It was hot. I held that cable in my hand. It was hot.
What that suggests is a sudden burst of some kind of energy.
I'd say.
I don't know what's going on in there.
There was a feeling of something there, which disappeared. Suddenly it was just gone.
The next night, Bob brought in Eddie Burks, an internationally known psychic and author who was contacted by Coots. the Queen's prestigious bank, to rid it of Sir Thomas Howard, the 4th Duke of Norfolk, who was beheaded by Queen Elizabeth I in 1572.
I'm going to walk round here and anything can start happening. It may not, it may, but I want to be ready for that. And then I'll go into the castle. I'm feeling a lot of distress as I walk around here, intense distress. I'm walking into something, I'm not quite sure what yet, but it's interesting, I'm losing it again now. There's something about that side of the castle. From a psychic point of view, it's a very powerful spot, this area here. And I think it's linked with events of the past. It's very difficult to stand in this area because of the chill. But it's not a chill in the air in the ordinary sense. It's something much colder. Thank you.
Inside.
Yes.
What are you picking up here, Eddie?
An oppressive feeling, tears, great distress.
Male, female?
There was a female connotation to it, almost despair at times. This is associated with the violence I felt outside. Woman had maidservants, so she must have been of some importance.
What are you feeling, Eddie?
Terror. Horror. Oh, it's horrible.
You all right?
Yeah. Tremendously threatening.
What are you feeling right here in this spot?
I say terror and horror threatening. To focus in on something, but I'm not quite sure what it is.
Sense any evil in this place?
Oh, there's plenty of evil in this place, yes. I'm sort of protecting myself from it. This man, I touched very lightly upon him then, but he's in darkness. He's in darkness. Not a place I would want to go to. But it's as though there's a thread from this place to where he is.
So are you saying it's an imprint? Or is it live actual energy that you're picking up?
The evil, I think, is mainly an imprint, but it has been followed by other evil things. There is a tendency for like attracting like, dark attracting dark. And other darknesses have been drawn into this place. Other evil things have happened here.
Okay. Are you picking up a name on this individual?
No, I don't want to either.
If you wanted to take it on, how could you do it?
Well, for a start, I wouldn't want to take it on. But if you try to take it on, you're up against serious difficulties.
We're here to see what this is. Now, what you picked up on is directly related to the history of the evil that's in this castle. What you're talking about is somebody who had this castle in the 14th century, who practiced black witchcraft, who was evil. But it is a person, and there's a lot to be said about most of that is mental anyway. If you practice black witchcraft or do incantations, you could recite Little Bo Peep, and if you told somebody that that's going to conjure up evil, then they'll believe it.
It's the same principle. Like attracts like, dark attracts dark.
Could any of my equipment stop it?
No, it couldn't.
Later on, Eddie left and the team went on to check out the areas where he felt the presence. Little did they realize their vacant extreme cold in the exact window where Eddie felt the presence.
Jenny, is that window there, did it used to have a floor beneath it?
Yes, that was the room. If Mary had been visiting Bothwell, as indeed she was said to be, she would have been in that room and possibly at that very window. That's the only window in the whole castle which has seats in it and is domestic. There could be a reason why the temperature is different.
Yeah, the Amiga OS 521 is reading 15, 14, 18, 17 degrees just in that one particular area. That's 16 degrees below freezing. And everything else is reading 44, 45. That's Fahrenheit, sure. 32 degrees, 33.
You got infrared in there, I see the beam.
All right, we're reading 16, 18 degrees, 15, 14, 16. Is there something up there?
It's got down to 9 again, by the way.
You got 9 degrees on that window?
8.
Read it off to me.
8.
You're in the center of that. And you're reading 8 degrees?
9. 11. 8.
Well, what you're reading is what you're getting. Temperature in the air hasn't changed in the last hour. Okay, there's no wind that's changed in the last hour. There's no rain out there. And that temperature has changed in the last 5 minutes as we're standing here watching it.
Yeah. It's gone back up, by the way.
To what? What is it now?
22.
That usually means the colder the temperature, the more active, keep reading it, the more active that energy is, the more power that energy is generating. Instead of generating heat, the temperature drops, and it drops suddenly.
It's 30 now.
Now it's back to 30? It's getting weaker. What do you got?
That's 42. Up there it's 44.
You shouldn't get above 46 and you shouldn't get below 39.
39.
There's no way you're going to get below 39 in these walls. Even if you pick up the moss that's wet.
It's something that must be up there and moving.
What is it now?
Moving from around the room?
Yeah, it must be moving around the room.
There's no one window in the room, then it could be moving away from the window.
Up there.
28, is it?
You got 28 now?
Got 29 now.
Whatever it is,
28.
the temperature is moving up there.
28, is it?
Let me see that a second. Hold your finger on it. Got it. Okay, Ken, follow me with this.
Okay.
Tell me when you're on it.
I'm on it.
I'm getting, right now it's dropping 22, 23. I got 15,
It's 16, 14.
13,
Jumping around.
15. I'm going to the left now, Ken. 5, 4, 8, 7, 6. There's no reason for that. 7, 5, 3 degrees, 5 degrees, 3 degrees. Something's got that going.
And as quickly as it came, it was gone. But it wasn't until the team went outside of the castle that they captured what may be the most dramatic and puzzling evidence of all.
Now, let's have that temperature gun up there.
Here?
Yeah.
Good 7.
And that's the exact spot where we were getting 4, 5, and 7 degrees on the inside, right?
Right.
What do you got now?
6. But there's a cold patch up there.
Where?
Up there.
Oh, yeah.
Where? Where are you at?
In that corner up there. Look.
Way in the corner.
Oh, I get you. Okay, Jenny, is that the peak above the dungeon?
Yes, it is.
Gone up there.
Read it.
Gone up there. It's gone up to 15.
What was it a minute ago?
3.
3 degrees?
Yeah. And 15. 12.
3.
That's 23. 23, oh well, 7, 6, 3, go.
We're right there?
Yeah.
Read it.
Hang on, I'll try and find it again.
That area there is where the murder hole was. Those battlements are just above the entrance where the two portcullises were, and if somebody came in and they closed this portcullis behind them, they couldn't escape, and they were murdered by the people in the room above. And the ghosts that are seen here are always on the battlements. You can't distinguish them because it's always dark of night.
During the investigation, something moving in an upward direction. This image was analyzed by manufacturers of advanced infrared and optical technology for the U.S. military. And the conclusion is that it is some unknown phenomenon. Watch closely. First you will see a moth-like bug fly into frame, followed immediately by the apparition. Notice in slow motion that the image is transparent and tends to leave a slight hueish trail behind it. You can actually see the wall of the castle through the image as it passes by. A most startling and significant fact which baffled the electro-optics experts is the fact that as the image passes by the frame of night vision, although it appears to be giving off an intense light of sorts, does not change the ambient lighting around it. With an advanced photocathode inside of the night vision device, any light appearing in the objective lens of the camera would have a direct effect on the entire image that the night vision is recording. Could it be the same flash of light that John Spencer saw the first night near the pit? The video footage was later submitted for analysis by Bob Schott to two major independent corporations that specialize in infrared and electro-optics and are manufacturers and providers of advanced defense technologies for the United States military. The question has been raised as to exactly what kind of energy would do this. While neither company would go on camera to disclose their findings due in part to their sensitive relationships with their government and military clients, the following statements were issued by Schott with regard to the energy patterns captured on tape and night vision. I have viewed the video supplied and have no explanation. This seems to be an abnormality that is not consistent with any known case that we have seen in the past. It is truly an unexplained phenomenon. B.E. Myers, Electro-Optics. I have no logical explanation to offer. Alan Harding, Lytton Electro-Optics. Due to the puzzling readings taken with the Omega in and outside the castle, Bob had the Omega OS-521 thermal gun calibrated for accuracy before and after the investigation. The following certificate of calibration was provided stating exact specifications of accuracy. Newport Electronics Incorporated certifies that the above instrumentation has been calibrated to meet or exceed the published specifications. This calibration was performed using instrumentation and standards that are traceable to the United States National Institute of Standards and Technology and is in compliance with ISO 100121.
We see both extreme rises in temperatures and extreme drops in hauntings. I have seen more temperature rises associated with angry, demonic, and vampiric energy than with the other end of the spectrum, which has to do more with restless spirits of the dead.
It wasn't until the film from the Special 4-lens camera was developed that something with the same unusual shape show up. A reddish rectangular object, unexplained by photographic experts. This photo and negatives were analyzed by image experts in California. The following comment was given. The images on films with twin check numbers 6200, 6206, and 9029 and 110278 are definitely not a developing error or flaw, and to me are unexplainable. I have been in the film printing business for over 10 years and unfortunately am not able to determine what caused these images to come out as they did. Sincerely, Sven H. Peterson, Image Experts Incorporated. This photo and expert analysis, along with the images captured on the night vision, corroborate each other. Was something trying to communicate with Adventures Beyond? Did Adventures Beyond actually make a breakthrough in communication with the supernatural? Were the troubled energy forms of the dead calling out? Whatever happened this night, one thing is for sure. Something was present. Adventures Beyond has taken you into the dark, unseen corridors of the past. Are you ready for your next adventure?